Hi guys, so welcome to the next video. This video is pulling all the ancillaries and stuff off and taking care of the new engine, so the new diesel engine that's going to go into the Lincoln. And we're going to get stuck into that now, but before we do all the YouTube stuff and hit the like button and the share and all that cool stuff. Well, we did have footage of us pulling the engine out of the car in the yard and then also stripping off most of the ancillaries, but unfortunately that footage got corrupted and didn't record properly, so we're going to start here from what we've got. Okay, so now we're on to just cleaning down the engine block. You can see most of the ancillaries are off already. Got the turbo unit and everything off, the manifold and all that stuff. We're just cleaning it down now. Ethan's on the wire brush, getting it all cleaned down so we can just, get a lick of paint on it and make it look nice. It doesn't need to be perfect for what it is. It's not some show car, but we want to make it look a little bit newer than it is. So that's this side cleaned down. All the manifold gasket face is clean as well, so we know we'll get a good seal. And the aluminium corrodes, over the years. It's an old engine now. It's got a lot of just general grub on it, so we've cleaned it all down. Just degreasing the top there, and I'm going to pull the injectors out now. I left them in for the cleaning process so that nothing got in the bores, so nothing got inside and or damaged the injector seal face. Pulling these out now really carefully, and just make sure nothing goes in the bores as well, which is why I'm using the airline and stuff and just trying to be really careful about it. Got lucky, so pulling the injectors, you can get a special tool for pulling them with the BMW engine, and I've pulled a lot of injectors out of a lot of BMW engines and I've never needed a puller. Got quite lucky. I bought one years ago on the off chance I needed it, and it's still brand new. I've never used it. Just getting a can of RE, Buzzweld RE, rust encapsulator, and giving it a coat, and then that's followed by a coat of black, which is chassis in one. Both have got rust prevention properties in there. Not that it really matters on an engine, but it leaves a really good finish as well, like a satin black, so happy with that. Next onto the turbo, and so this is the turbo back from being rebuilt, and I sent the whole thing as one assembly to the turbo place, and they've sent it back in pieces, the two separate turbos and then all the manifold stuff. So at this point it was a case of figuring out how this jigsaw went back together again with all these pieces. So it took a bit of figuring out and a lot of looking on YouTube for pictures and stuff, but we got it figured out and got it back together and it looks great. So then here's a bunch of other ancillary parts that we've got to bolt on, all new bits, new alternator there, and a host of other stuff that's going to go back together again. So now we're going to jump on with putting some bits back on the block. I'm going to start with the turbo and the manifold and everything. This whole assembly is quite big, so we're going to get that on. Cleaning up the gasket face, make sure we get a good seal, brand new manifold gaskets going on with the whole assembly. It's a fair size thing, twin turbo assembly, and it's super tightly packaged, so trying to get to all the bolts, the manifold bolts, to get it back together is really interesting. Got to be creative with your extensions and stuff. Turbo pipes going on, the drain pipes, all standard stuff this is, so it's all just going back on. A brand new alternator as well, and we'll be using a bunch of other brand new stuff, starter, motor, water pump, and all the ancillaries basically are going to be new. Essentially it's just going to be the core engine that's original, but we know that's a good one anyway. So water pump going on now. It just makes sense to do all this sort of stuff, while the engine's out and you've got good access to it. And for the cost of this sort of stuff, it's a few £100 here, a few £100 there, and it's just right. So we've also dropped on, after this point, a couple of billet pulleys. So they're
They're our SYNCRO gearboxes, billet pulleys for the BMW M57 and other BMW engines. I'm sure they fit. So we've got them bolted on, and we also put on a billet steering pulley, which we didn't get a video of, I don't think. Next up then is the good stuff, the injection pump and the injectors, all fully reconditioned with warranty and everything. So we know they're going to be right, so it's just a case of bolting these back in. Injection pumps are doddle, it's 3 bolts and then a nut for the timing pulley thing. And then injectors is just slowly just dropping them back in, a little bit of grease, the new copper seal, and then drop them back in. It's a little bit fiddly because there's a bunch of these little nuts, the little M5 I think they were, or something like that, nuts that hold them in with a little clamp, so it's a bit fiddly. Just got to be careful you don't drop them, especially in the top of the engine. So I just got them going in, and it's starting to look nice there. Satin black everywhere, and all nice and clean, and then you can see all the new stuff's going on, and it just looks really good. So next up, I've got to put on the injector rail there, or the fuel rail, with the hard pipes that go to the injectors, hard fuel pipes, and then the main pipe from the injection pump to the rail. And in that rail, you've got, to the left-hand side, you've got the rail sensor, and on the right-hand side there, you've got a control valve, and they're getting swapped out for new ones as well, because they can be problematic. So new gaskets and seals in a few things. There's 3 main things really. There's the oil filter housing there, and then there's got a couple of seals. And then when the inlet manifold goes on, that's got a bunch of seals in it as well. So you've got to swap them out, but they all come in a kit as well. Okay, so big day today. Got the engine for the Lincoln on the bench, as you know, on the little test rig, and it's all hooked up now. So I'm just going to walk you through what we've hooked up. Going to get it running to make sure everything's good, make sure it works, make sure the injectors, new injectors that we put in, and the injection pump and all the other bits and bobs that we've put in there, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So let's take a look. Alright, so this is the setup. Pretty basic, as you can see. Might look a bit messy, but it is organised, so I'm just going to take you through it. Obviously, engine. So she's hooked up enough that it will run. The sensors that are required to make it run are hooked up. Obviously there's no intercooler, there's no boost pipes, so she won't be boosting, and there's no map sensor and odds and sods like that, but there is enough stuff to make it run. I've had engines, M57 engines, running in this state, so there she is. So then on the bench, actually let's go back down here, so battery down there, straightforward. Fuel pump, fuel source, so that's got the feed and return going into that can of race diesel there, and then all important ignition switch, tough book or tough pad for data, so I can see what's going on, standard BMW relays and stuff like that. Relay pack there that's in the MW Machines 4x4 wiring loom, which is a brilliant bit of kit, and then obviously the ECU. The wiring loom is so simple. If I take off that, I have 2 lives and 1 earth, and they go up there to the loom, and that's all that is required to make this run. So 2 lives, 1 earth, permanent, and then they're switched, and then we've got the throttle pedal on top there. And like I say, there's a bunch of stuff that's not connected. Obviously the auto gearbox isn't there, and there's a bunch of sensors and stuff that aren't connected. Obviously there's no cooling and stuff like that, but this is the most basic form that it will run. So I've pointed, and it will run very smoky, I think, because there's no boost and it won't really know what it's doing. So I've pointed the exhaust towards the door and away from me, and
Oh, one last thing, the most important thing. The key. Obviously she's not hooked up, so there's no switch. And because it's auto, until the gearbox is hooked up, you basically have to start it off the starter motor because of the park inhibitor. Because it won't be seeing a signal from the gearbox to say it's in park. Hence the key. So, let's get cracking. So there we go, before the battery goes flat. One running BMW M57 engine, standalone on a pallet in the workshop with very minimal wiring and sensors and stuff. So now we know it works, we can carry on building it up and get some boost.
So before we go, just hit the like button if you like the video. If you didn't hit it anyway, it doesn't cost you anything. And click the share button and all that cool stuff.